everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Self-Helpless Podcast. I'm Kelsey Cook.
I'm Delanie Fisher.
And I'm Taylor Tomlinson.
Oh, yay!
We didn't even talk about me saying that. I'm so glad that I remembered.
We figured you get back on that bike. You figured it out again real quick. Oh, guys,
This is going to be fun.
Yeah, we're doing, this is like our celebration 6-year anniversary episode.
Yes. Do like a then versus now. Where we were then, where we are now. What's different? What's the same? What do we wish we knew?
Yeah.
What dreams did we have?
It's going to be a long episode.
I was thinking about it. I was like, this could have been, I mean, each of us could have had our own episode. I feel like there's so much that has changed in 6 years.
So much. Yeah.
Yeah. So much so that I'm actually surprised it's only been 6 years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think I thought it was closer to 8.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like a lifetime ago. It feels like I feel like a completely different person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Also, just even thinking of how old we were then. I mean, Taylor, how old were you when we started?
I was 23.
Oh,
Isn't that gross?
Holy shit.
a literal child.
Always forget that. So wait, how old okay, I can't not do math right now. Was I 26?
I was 28.
So I was
You were
27.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gotcha.
Is that true?
So my frontal lobe has just fused together.
Are you that much older than me? Are you 4.5 years older than me, Kels?
I thought it was older than that. I thought it was like
Well,
a
she
full
was-
5. I was born in 89.
I was born in 93, but at the end of 93. So I think it's
Oh, yeah, it's 4.5.
4.5. Wow. I always think you're 2 years older than me.
Crazy.
Wait, Delanie, what year were you born?
90.
Oh my gosh. I thought you guys were like, you guys have
little
just been a
fetus.
year older than me in my head this whole time.
Adult
I always
friendships.
forget.
Yeah, adult friendships and adult relationships. It's so weird how age is so different because I always think of it like if we were all in elementary school, like you
Right.
would have been in first grade and I would have been getting ready to go to middle school.
Yeah, we would not have been
How
hanging out
weird is
back
that?
then.
Oh, that's so
Creepy
weird.
for us to be
Isn't
friends.
that weird? Like I could have been your babysitter. How weird is that?
I can't believe you guys were hanging out with me when I was 23. That's so nice of you.
You're always very mature.
Yeah, you've always been much older than your age. You know what I mean? In your soul, your old soul joke.
The old
back in the day.
That's right. Call back.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know. I do feel like there were certain moments early on in the podcast where it was abundantly clear that you two were much more mature than I was.
Why do you think that?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember like how sort of like how much I overshared and how sort of like vengeful I was. Like I feel like I was like, don't fuck with me.
You were one for the petty. You were
Yeah.
You were like
Sweet revenge. Yes.
yeah. Big Taylor Swift vibes.
Yeah,
Loved it.
You were
Not my
to be
fault.
crossed.
not my fault.
Those make for some very fun stories though early on.
Scorpio. I was telling somebody the other day, they asked me what my sign was. I'm on Raya. Someone asked me what my sign was, and I was like, I'm a Scorpio, but I've been in a lot of therapy. So I think I'm like a decent Scorpio now.
I remember I would tell you certain situations I was in and you would be like, "Oh my god, here's what I would do." And I was like, "Whoa, I didn't even know that you could do something like that." It was like set their house on fire. You know,
Yeah,
was like
it was
always
not great. It was not great. I was so in awe of you two and how, like, just like how down to earth and mature you were in emotional situations. And yeah, now at 29, I'm like, oh, this is what it feels like to not be simmering always.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess you're close. Yeah, you're close to the age we were at when we started. I mean, closer. That's just really
Yeah, you're older than where.
Yeah.
But I had my revenge phase though too. I shared a lot. Like I feel like I was coming off of that, and you know, shared all my awful things that I did to I don't know, in romantic relationships and stuff like that feel like everybody's got to go through that shit though.
Yeah. But I appreciate you guys hanging out with me during mine when you had grown beyond it.
We loved it. You added a little Tabasco too. You know what I mean? It was like, what would Taylor do? And then it would make us feel a little spicier, I think.
That's right. Exactly.
Well, before we get into like all of our things, should we plug our upcoming tour dates and Delanie plug your podcast?
You betcha.
Okay. Well, this is coming out on October 2nd, so I'm going to be in Spokane this weekend, my hometown at Spokane Comedy Club. Can't wait. Please come out. I will be in Cleveland 2 weeks after that, and then in November, I'm in Grand Rapids, DC, Nashville, Huntsville, and Atlanta, and then in December, I'm in Boston and Tampa. So kelseycook.com for tour date tickets for the rest of the year. Taylor, where can people find you?
You can see me in Portland, Oregon, and Salt Lake City this weekend, the 5th through the 8th of October. Next weekend, the 12th through the 14th, I am in Cincinnati, Ohio, and Detroit, Michigan. Then I'm in Spokane, October 19th, which is so sad I just missed you.
Oh, we're just missing each other. No.
And Seattle that same weekend. And then I'm in Florida the first weekend in November, and I'm turning 30, so I'm probably going through it. Ooh, I need a minute. And then just Nashville, and then I'm filming my special, but those are all sold out, I believe, in DC.
So exciting. And when is the special being shot?
November 18th.
Okay.
Nice.
Exciting.
Fucking tastic. Very exciting.
Yes.
And hey, do you feel completely lost in your life and career every 5 to 7 years? Head on over to DelanieFisher.com for my other podcast, Career Crush. We talk about building an unconventional life and career and all the ups, downs, in betweens. And that's where I'm at. That's where you can catch me. DelanieFisher.com. There you go.
Oh, Delanie. I love it.
What's the biggest thing that you wish you knew back then, 6 years ago, that you know now? Whether it's career, relationships, health, whatever, personal stuff, anything.
You want to go, Tay?
Yes. I wish I had seen a psychiatrist a little bit sooner. Which, it's hard because I was thinking about this when we were getting ready to record this, and I want to ask you if you guys feel this way. Because sometimes I feel like I regret certain things, and I wish I'd known certain things, and I wish certain things had gone differently. But then I also like who I am and where I'm at now. And there's no guarantee you would have been this person. I assume it's how parents feel when they're like, I wish I had maybe been single a little bit longer instead of getting married and having kids at the age I was when I had them, but I would still love to have these kids that I have now. It's sort of like a Spider-Man multiverse mindfuck.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with where I ended up, but I do wish that I had gotten a handle on my mental health much sooner than I did, because I kept giving up on antidepressants or therapy or whatever because I was such a workhorse and just was frustrated with the whole process, and I really wish I'd taken the time to stick with it.
Yeah, that's a good one. Mine is in the same vein, which is that the anxiety you're feeling is not who you are. It's the birth control pill you're on. I mean, I would have liked to have been the person I am now a lot sooner. But like you said, Tay, who knows, maybe I wouldn't be who I am now without feeling the way I did. I will say, having an IUD in now, I have felt some anxiety come back a little bit, but man, it is a fraction of the way I felt through my entire 20s. And I just had no idea that wasn't who I was. I just assumed that was like my complete personality and my brain. And yeah, I hated it. So
those are so good. Yeah, I feel like what you said, Tay, of like, that kind of like, you're happy with who you are, but you kind of wish I kind of look at it through the lens of, if I could help somebody else maybe seek something sooner or feel more present in their life, because I'm very happy with where I'm at. But I wish I could have maybe relaxed a little bit more through certain seasons or whatever. But I think my biggest one is just the impermanence of everything, and the impermanence of my choices and my interests and whatever. Like every time I thought I had figured something out, I changed, right? Like I thought I figured out what I wanted to do for my job. That changed. I weaved into something else. Then I was like, okay, now I'm at this thing. I kept trying to put myself in these different boxes along the way. And now I'm just like, I'm trying to unbox myself and feel like more fluid and not be so attached to titles and categories and, trying to fit myself into like one thing. I think I really drove myself kind of crazy doing that, trying to hack my way to a happy, fulfilled, life in that sense. So yeah, I just wish I wish I could like tell myself like, you're going to have a lot of interests always, and you're going to want to do a lot of things. Just take it one thing at a time and go with the flow, and you don't have to do all of it at once. And I think I would have been a lot less anxious.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people in their 20s can relate to that a lot.
I think in 3 years, I'm going to go, I wish I'd gotten off of birth control sooner, but I don't have time right now. But I think about you two every time I take it, or I go, man, who am I under here? Who am I under these hormones? I'm too scared of the side effects of getting off of it.
I had so few. But I know that people can have intense ones. So I'm not trying to minimize what it could be. I'm just saying, like, man, if you really are so curious, I wouldn't let the side effects stop you.
I know. Delanie, did you have side effects? You didn't, right?
I don't think so. But you know what? I didn't have like what Kelsey describes, like her anxiety, like feeling significantly different. I didn't feel very different mentally or emotionally on it or off it. But what was going on inside my body definitely changed, just from like lab results and shit, So I wasn't feeling it, but obviously it did make an impact on like my health and stuff like that.
Really? Like what?
Yeah. Well, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Right. And at the same time, I was going off the pill. I was, eating plant-based, all these things. And I asked my doctor, could you give me like a few months to see if this makes a difference? And then it did. I'm like in remission. I don't have it anymore.
I forgot about that.
I didn't feel anything different, but obviously, whether one or both of those things made a difference, that was very shocking to me. And that would have been nice to know earlier for sure.
Yeah. The way it's felt for me, the difference mentally is that before the anxiety was just a constant, like I would wake up and have an immediate attachment to a rumination. It was like the second my eyes were open, it's like, what am I ruminating on right now? And it was like, hey,
it's still me.
Hi, what's up? It was like a playlist the second I opened my eyes of like, I have 10 to 20 things that I can be ruminating about at any given time. Now, if I feel anxious about something, it's circumstantial. It's like there is a specific thing that's happening, and often it's like I'm tired, I'm traveling too much, there's something that's really stressing me out that's like adding to why I feel this way. It's not just a baseline feeling that I always have.
Yeah.
So
yeah, makes sense. How has your relationship like changed with work now? Like 6 years ago to now, like what's the same, what's different? Anything that you wish you would have known coming up in your careers?
I will say it has been absolutely devastating to watch Delanie escape this business and truly relax and become, Kelsey and I have talked about this. I feel bad bothering Delanie to catch up or get dinner or anything if I don't have updates or I'm not in a good place, because I just feel like Delanie's life is so peaceful and calm and happy that I don't want to bring anything negative into it. Oh my God. And I'm like, if I go to garden. Yes. Delanie is a garden, and I don't want to like poop in your garden.
Oh my God. That's so funny that you guys think that, or that you think that, Day, because I'm like, somebody give me an update, because because things can sometimes feel too peaceful, where I'm like, I need some excitement up in this bitch. Can you tell me about some crazy shit that happened on the road, or like who's dating and all that? Like, I'm open to all of that. I mean, please poop in my garden anytime. I'm not. I got a pooper scooper. I got doggy bags. I'm all set. I'm all set. I got the skill set for that.
That's what's so boring about being healthy, is you just have far less updates.
Oh my God. Yeah. My updates are so boring.
Think about all the updates we had the first few years of this podcast. I mean,
Yeah.
God
like,
damn.
You watching any good shows? It's like there's just like, but yeah. There was a reason we had segments early on, because like we all had something massive to talk about on a weekly basis.
Not like oversharing. Oh my God.
Oh my God. Remember when we all got engaged within like 3 months of each other?
Holy shit, yes.
Oh my God. I forgot that was in a clunk.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so weird.
Yeah.
God.
That is so weird to think about. Does anybody want to add to that? About
I mean,
where we're at with that?
That is another thing I would maybe tell myself from 6 years. But you know what? When we started this podcast, it was the longest stretch, besides right now, that I had been single, because I was such a serial monogamist all throughout my 20s. And that, like, when we started this podcast, it helped me stay single for those, like, I don't know. I'm going to say a year. It was more like 9 or 10 months. But I wish that I had spent more time on my own in my 20s. Not that I like regret any of the relationships I was in, but I just really needed to get to the place I am now, which is like, I'm okay by myself. And I wish I'd done that a little sooner.
It can be so fucking uncomfortable to be alone. And I mean, I've told you this a dozen times, but I mean, I really am so proud of you for like where you're at, and just, you've got like baby Grinch mouth right now. Like,
I'm not gonna cry.
But really, it's like, man, it's just great. Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. I wouldn't change anything. I think I needed to have the experiences I had to know what I know now, and then be where I am in my life. But yeah, it's having a podcast that is so public, and like all of us being so open about our relationships and our love lives on there. If those relationships don't last, then it's like, that was so hard to have to come on the podcast and say that I was getting divorced. Because, you know, like, we got engaged on the freaking podcast. Like, this podcast has been through a lot in 6 years, you know? So, yeah, but I mean, I couldn't be happier right now. So I feel like I wouldn't change anything.
That's good.
Yeah.
Oh, what was the original question, though? I think it was about work.
Relationship with work and where we're at with the engagements.
We just had a relationship.
Took a short detour and asked about if we wanted to get into relationship talk on here. I think another big difference, Tay, I would say, in our work is that we are so much more protective of our health on the road. Like, I don't take any more red eyes. I think you have snuck in a couple red eyes.
I don't remember the last red eye I took.
Okay.
But I'm sure I was the last one to do one.
Okay.
But are there red eyes out of Spokane?
True.
So I don't even know if it was an option for you.
It might have not been an option when I lived there, yeah.
Yeah, which is good. Mm-hmm. And now you live by the best airport in the world, and it's more central. Yeah, I haven't taken a red eye in a while. I do think the international travel, because I went to a bunch of countries within like 2 months of each other, and I have felt pretty messed up from all that.
Yeah.
I think COVID also helped us prioritize our health a bit more. Like, that was a huge turning point for me, because we were so scared of getting sick, and it just changed my outlook on everything. But yeah, I think we've done a good job of being each other's travel sponsors, as we say, and going, tell me not to do this. Tell me to fly in the day before. Tell me to rent a car. Tell me to just take away any anxiety that I can take away.
Yeah.
On the road.
I will say also in defense of our younger selves, we weren't in positions financially necessarily to take care of ourselves. Like sometimes we were taking insane flights because that's what we could afford. And, you know, like sitting middle seat, like back aisle of the, or back row of the plane, whatever, just like tough times, tough travel times.
Yeah. I work out with a trainer now that Delanie actually found. So thank you for that, Delanie. And every time we do like complicated stretching, I'm like, man, I wish I'd been doing this in my early, like, I wish I did this years ago. Like, I wish I had kept up with this so that, because that's the whole reason I want to be strong and healthy, is like, I want to be able to travel like this for years, because it has gotten harder, like the wear and tear of travel on our bodies, I think.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
While Delanie's over here regenerating.
Oh my gosh. No, I was going to say I would say my biggest shift with work and what I was doing is that my mindset used to be very much like, I'm just going to do everything and say yes to everything, because at some point an external factor of some kind will tell me what like direction to go. It was very much like, it's like just do everything, and then somebody will somehow fucking grant you this permission to like be successful at one of these things. So it was very detached from what I actually enjoyed doing, what I wanted my life to be like. I had no emotional connection to like myself with what I was doing in work. And now it's very much different, to where I think about, what do I want my lifestyle to be? What things fuel my lifestyle? What do I actually enjoy doing versus not doing? So that's the biggest shift. And I would say like leaving like stand up and comedy and just like that kind of stuff, it was a very messy, painful, and still is in a lot of ways very painful, because you feel like not special anymore. You know, like as a performer, you feel like you have a superpower. And then all of a sudden, like nobody gives a shit about you that way anymore. It's
I've
like
never thought of it like that.
That is totally taken away. And you have to like figure out your identity in this way that like you don't have that to pull out of your back pocket. You don't have that anymore. And it's really it's been very hard in a lot of ways, because part of me enjoyed that. I just didn't enjoy the logistics that kind of come with that. But it didn't mean I didn't fucking enjoy the validation and the excitement around those opportunities. So you kind of like, I was in a weird spot of like, how do I feel that in a way that makes sense for my day to day? Do you guys watch the other two, that show?
I have watched some of it, yeah.
Okay. Do you? Okay, there is an episode that I was dying laughing at, because there's an episode where the older sister leaves the entertainment industry for like an episode or two. And she goes to these industry parties, and she's literally invisible to people. You just like see a drink like floating in the air while everybody's talking about like what they're doing. And it's so fucking funny, because even though it's like satire, that's exactly how you feel. That's exactly how you feel in a room, in pitch meetings, in anything like that. Like that's like, you're not that anymore, which it makes sense. Like I chose that. Why would somebody be wanting to discuss that with me? Obviously, right? It's like a lawyer who leaves law. If you go to a courtroom, you're sitting in the back of the fucking courtroom. You're not going to be up there doing the law stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't expect that. Like going to a comedy club as a comedian, and then going back years later or whatever, and like taking a picture with like the comedians, and then the comedy club literally cutting you out of the photo because you're not a comedian anymore. Like that's what it feels like. And so
wait, did a club do that?
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. And this was like, I mean, but that makes sense. Like I'm just an audience member. Right. And so, but it's like, wow, that's really weird. That's a really weird feeling. You know, the last time I was there, it was a very different experience. And you have like, it's a very weird unraveling of your identity. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate, whether maybe they left music or dance or whatever, and they have to integrate it in their life in a very different way.
Yeah.
So it's weird. It's like hanging out with an ex-boyfriend sometimes, like when I've left other jobs, I don't like go back to that job and hang out with those coworkers and see like what everybody's up to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But with comedy, because I still love it so much, I love you guys, you're my friends. I love this podcast. I'm still connected to it, but it's not the same. And sometimes it feels like I'm hanging out with an ex. That's how I can kind of describe it. So yeah, it's not a pretty little transition all the time. It's messy for sure.
That makes sense. I mean, the closest thing I can think that I felt to that is during COVID, it was a big wake-up call for me where I was like, oh, if I'm not a comedian, if I'm not doing this job, I don't really know who I am. Like, I don't have a sense of who I am. Like, my entire identity is wrapped up in this job. So I can't imagine leaving or transitioning to something else, because that, whatever, 6 months, year of lockdown where there was just nothing, I was really like, oh my God, am I nothing without this? I might be nothing.
And now you bake cakes too.
I know, but when I can't sleep that one week.
Oh, look at that.
I love that you did that.
Really? Oh, it was so unhinged. It was good content. It was good content for a week. It was fun. It was fun to, sort of do like a different thing that I was like, oh, I'm not going to be good at this, and just accept that and let that failure flow through me freely. That acceptance of being trash at something. That was kind of nice.
I know you were one of the judges on the finale of Is It Cake? Was that was that a fun, did being on that show make you want to do that? Or was it just like a different?
No, that's a totally different thing, because they're making cakes look like, a car.
Like a car, yeah.
Yeah, they're like doing a whole thing. That's like art. Like, no, my aunt is really good at cake decorating. And again, hers is like next level. I just watched a bunch of TikToks on a plane. I watched a bunch of TikToks and I was like, this looks cute and fun. I could probably make a heart cake if I just like got all this stuff. And then I got all the tools and I could not. And it was very humbling. Because the three of us are very like, if I put my mind to it, I could do almost anything. Not the case.
Oh, baking is hard. It's like, it's science. I mean, it's like chemistry. So if you fuck one little measurement up, you're fucked.
Yeah.
I don't even attempt it. No.
I wasn't even trying to make cake that like tasted good. I don't even know if they tasted good. It wasn't about that for me. It was about the visual aspect of it. I was like, I just want this to look cute at the end. I thought I was going to post like a cute little photo set. I'd be like, look what I did last week. I made 3 cakes and they're pretty. And then it was like, oh no, you're not going to get any good photos.
Oh, it's very funny. Can we talk about what our living situations were 6 years ago compared to where they are now?
Yeah.
Go for it. Well, I had roommates, and I was living in an area of LA that I fucking hated, very much so. And now I live in a neighborhood that I've wanted to live in since I was in middle school. It's my dream neighborhood. And I still have a roommate, Cam, my husband. So I guess something's changed. Something's...
And you got dogs.
And 2 dogs.
I got 2. I went from 0 dogs to 2 dogs.
Your
sons.
Goose.
Yes, my little babies. Yeah, my little babies, my little rescue pups. And I really enjoy my home. I never thought that I would care about decorating it or I don't know. That was not on my radar 6 years ago. Didn't really care about making my home feel nice. I was just I was in survival mode a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I just really enjoy being here, and I've tried to curate it nicely, and I enjoy having people over for tea parties and things, stuff that I would have never done, the way that I do it now. So that's my home life. I've been very happy with. What about you guys?
Hey, what was yours 6 years ago?
My 6 years ago was I moved to Orange County, remember, to live with my sisters for that year because I was so lonely in LA and I just really missed my siblings. And so I was commuting. I was driving into LA every day, pretty much that I was home. And that's why I got to be too much. And since then, I've moved a few times and was, bi-coastal for a little while. And now I'm kind of in a weird place with the living thing because I like my apartment. I like where I live. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about LA. I don't know if I really want to leave LA or if I just want to move to a different part of LA. I don't know if I'm just getting restless because I want to move every year and often do. I don't know. I like living alone. I appreciate living alone a lot. But then sometimes you do get kind of lonely, like coming home after you've been on the road for a while to nobody. So, yeah, I don't know. Kelsey came and stayed with me, I don't even know, 6 months ago or something. And we were like, oh man, we would have been such good roommates. Why did our single periods not sync up?
Yeah, God, it was so fun. That was like a slumber party for a few days. It was just so nice to have the ability to, like, if you wanted to have a conversation, you could just have one right then, like in person in the kitchen. It wasn't, you didn't have to like call anybody.
Yeah. So I don't know. My living situation has changed pretty much every year since 6 years ago, I think.
Yeah. And mine has too. I've moved at least once a year for the last, I don't know, decade. And when we started the podcast, I lived in a tiny 1-bedroom apartment in North Hollywood that was so old and like run down. It was, the actual property group is called like Vintage Apartments or something like that, where you're like code word for piece of shit, like code word for nothing's been updated for decades. So it was, oh my God, like no dishwasher, no washer and dryer, no central AC. It was in the valley. So the summers when you would just cook in there. So it was me and my partner at the time and our 3 cats. And those were days of like, this doesn't feel great in terms of our living situation. We would not like to live here forever. And then I moved to Spokane in 2020, and then I moved to Minnesota at the beginning of this year. And I'm currently, like I mentioned on a recent episode, I've been looking at houses with Chad, and so we're getting some news today after the podcast if one is going to go through or not. So we'll keep you guys posted. But yeah, very, very different than 6 years ago. 6 years ago was rough. That was a tough living situation.
Yeah. Remember the first episode of the podcast? Like how we even record the podcast has changed so much.
Didn't we share a mic the first episode?
Yes.
Oh
I think we had two microphones that we were sharing and we were passing things back and forth to each other.
That was chaotic. That was
Our first episode was recorded, I think, on my lunch break or after I had a corporate job that I did not enjoy. And we reserved a conference room at my work to record the first episode. And I can't remember if it was on a lunch break or right after work. And just, passing the mic literally back and forth and doing our best. That was episode number 1.
It must have been, I feel like it was at the end of the day. I feel like we used to record at the end of your work days.
Yeah.
Because I was commuting out. Like, I used to, like, pack. I got a cooler for my car and would, like, pack lunches for myself because I would leave, like, in the morning. I'd be in LA all day because it was not worth it with the traffic to go home.
Think about that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It was a lot. But, yeah, that was so funny. And then we were in the studio for a little while. And then COVID, we had to be on Zoom.
Yeah.
And I told Kelsey, I saw Kelsey over the weekend because at the last minute I flew to Phoenix and I saw her show. And
nice.
Yeah, it was great. She was so good. It was so fun. I was in the back like a mom. It was just like, ah, she's so good.
Thank you. I love when I could hear your laugh from up there. I was like, oh, that was so nice.
I was way back there. I was like, I didn't want to distract you, but the ones I really liked, I was just going, that's really good. That's a really good. I didn't even laugh at the ones I liked the most. I was just like, that's great. That's really good. Just quietly to myself.
That's what Chad and I do. We're just like, what a well-crafted joke. It's just like a silent, like, just like a respectful nod.
Yeah, I wouldn't disrespect that line with any noise other than quiet reverence. So good.
Quiet reverence. Oh, God.
But I was telling Kelsey, I was like, I've been thinking about maybe I should listen to an old episode, like one of our first episodes. And she's like, yeah, that is your journey to go on, my friend. I'm not going back there.
Never. Couldn't pay me enough.
Couldn't pay me enough.
Bon voyage. Good luck. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Where were you guys at in your comedy careers 6 years ago versus where you're at today? Little snapshots.
We pretty much the same. I mean, I was like on cruise ships 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I had just started to be able to do it full time featuring for Jim Norton. But yeah, so it's like, it's exciting when you can make the leap to doing it full time, but it's still fucking terrifying because you're just living week to week and you're kind of at the mercy of if the headliner is going to work that weekend and bring you. And yeah, but Tay, you had, I feel like it was really soon after we started the podcast that's like when shit was catching fire. It was like Conan, JFL, like a bunch of stuff happened right around that time.
Yeah. Yeah. Right after we started the podcast, you're right. I got JFL and that development deal at ABC and Conan. And yeah, it was so funny that it all happened once I moved out of LA.
Always how it is.
But yeah, I mean, I just had to do a podcast where they were asking me to sort of summarize my career. And I was like, well, here are sort of the credits or the opportunities I got. And I've been lucky enough that they've been sort of consistently spread out. So there was always something, even if it didn't like make this huge difference in my career, it was enough for me to be like, okay, they let me on Adam Devine's house party. So I'm probably good enough to do this. But yeah, when we started this podcast, I think it was like around the time or right after the time that I had decided like I can't do churches anymore, corporates I want to be picky about. I was doing a lot of cruise ships that year to make up for that income. I was headlining, but not A clubs. It was like right before the Improv started booking me to headline, or maybe it was around the time. It was like, but yeah, it's crazy how quickly my career has changed in the last 6 years. Like I feel very, very blessed and fortunate. But yeah, Kelsey and I talk about it all the time where we're like, oh, we did it. We're the guys. Like, we're the comedians.
Tay, do you think this would be a fun time to talk about how different our relationship is?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
like,
Have we talked about this on the podcast?
No.
Have we not?
No. I don't think we've ever talked about it. I talked about it a little bit when I went on Bert's podcast because he was talking about like his friendship with Tom.
Maybe that's it.
But you and I have never talked about it.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about it or should I talk about it?
Well, we can both talk about it.
I feel we can both talk about it. Who wants to go first?
But, so when we're talking about that there's that period of time where Taylor was like, whoosh, like all these things started to happen. I started to become really insecure because you guys were the first like close female friends I had in comedy. Up in Seattle, it was more like a lot of other dudes that I was friends with. Yeah, and then coming to LA and finding you guys, I was like, oh my God, this is what I've always hoped I would find, but didn't know it was possible. And then I realized that one of the hard things that can come with that, though, is comparison, because all of a sudden there are two people who are in the same business as you around the same place that if they're getting opportunities that you aren't, it immediately makes you feel bad about yourself. And so I had started to really like struggle with the feeling that if you were getting credits or the opportunities you were getting, that it meant that I wouldn't. And it was, I mean, it's a tough thing to navigate in comedy. And we ended up having a really big talk in 2020 that kind of like completely changed our friendship. And so, yeah, do you want to talk about your side?
Yeah, it was so funny how that happened too, because like, it wasn't something we planned to talk about. It sort of felt like it was not really an issue anymore. And I think that's why we talked about it, because I do feel like it was naturally sort of working its way out of ourselves, because I was very insecure for different reasons. Like, there was some career stuff for sure where I was like, oh man, like Kelsey's bi-coastal and she's like killing it and she's so likable and all this stuff that obviously I felt like I had to work harder. But I was very insecure about my looks when we were all starting the podcast. Like, it was very hard, quite frankly, for me to be friends with both of you and have to be on camera with you both once we started doing the studio. Like, that studio had, when we recorded, it was 2 seats on one side of the desk and then 1 seat on the other side of the desk. And I remember I would always try to get the seat on the opposite side so that I wouldn't have to be in a shot next to one of you. That's how insecure I was. I wanted the camera to switch and it just be me, and then switch and be you too. That's how insecure I was. And so it was very difficult for me to be like, even like on shows and stuff, because like it was just, I don't know, I just had a really hard time with it, like privately, and we never talked about it. And there was some of the career stuff felt weird and I didn't know how to handle it, or if it was in my head or whatever. And Delanie was transitioning out, so that was never really a thing with us. But yeah, in 2020, we went for a walk and we just like, I don't know how it started, but we just kind of started talking about it. And we were both like, oh my God, what? Like, you're like genuinely surprised, or was like, you're jealous of me, I'm jealous of you. Like, what?
Yeah.
But it's a good, and it's like, it's so funny now how none of that is a part of our relationship at all. Like, it just like kind of
0%.
Yeah, just sort of like floated away. It just sort of dissipated that day entirely. It was weird.
Yeah. I always feel like our friendship is this success story that, like, I wish, I'm so happy we're talking about it now, because I do feel like there are a lot of situations where girls in their 20s and 30s, it's like, maybe you're listening and you feel like you can't overcome this, but it's like, you really can. I mean, I'm in constant awe of how, like you said, how it is 0% a thing in our friendship anymore. But there was a period of time where for both of us, it was like very loud in our heads. That feeling of, I was so insecure. I really hated myself, to be honest. Like, that's been a huge change in the past 6 years, is having a good relationship with myself now. But anything I did that didn't feel perfect, which, spoiler alert, was everything, because that's not possible. I was just so hard on myself. And I use this example, and I know this was like kind of a hard one to hear, Tay, but I think it's just like, is in a nutshell what it felt like. There were like shows in LA that I really wanted to be on, and I was like, oh man, I hope they ask me to do that at some point. And I remember one day I got a text from the booker of one of those shows, and I saw his name on my phone, and I was like, oh man, I bet he's gonna ask me to do a show. And he was like, hey, do you have Taylor's number?
Oh my God, I'm like, so sorry.
No,
meanwhile, anytime somebody brought you up to me, they're like, Kelsey's so hot. I'm like, I know. Just
But that's not what I
chill.
I wouldn't want somebody to say that. I would want them to be like, Kelsey's so funny. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I don't think they were like, Kelsey's not funny, she's only hot. But it just came up so much that it was like, it was just like, it was just loud in my head. And then, Delanie, do you feel it? I don't feel like you ever hated yourself, but maybe you felt differently. But Delanie always felt very secure to me in a way that I was always aspiring to, but was also like, well, I'll never get there. Not once. And I felt similarly nervous and insecure around Delanie too. I remember one of the people I dated, I would have dreams all the time that they left me for Delanie because I genuinely thought they'd be a better fit.
Yeah,
and I had nightmares all the time.
Yeah. Delanie's so like desirable.
Oh my God,
yeah.
what? I mean, thank you, but I'm so confused by this, seriously. Because from my perspective, I was jealous of both things that you mentioned. I was jealous that jealous, I don't know if it's the right word, because it wasn't that I wanted what you guys wanted because I didn't want that career path, but the envy of knowing exactly what you guys wanted to do and you were doing it and going after it and I didn't know, and I really wanted to direct my energy somewhere so I could accomplish something, and I didn't know where to direct my energy, and that felt really challenging, being around people who knew what they wanted for a while and were already doing it. And I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm just going to fade off into the distance, into my garden, I guess. And then also the looks thing. I mean, I totally was insecure. Not the being in my head on camera necessarily, Tay, like you mentioned, but just the fact that I feel like our features are so different. Like the fact that you guys are just naturally curvy, got beautiful big lips, like all these things where I'm like, I had to buy those things for myself and you guys just get them not, you know what I mean? So it's interesting to like hear about everybody's insecurities or whatever, jealousies or whatever was going on, because we all had them about different things.
Yeah, our friendship has brought so much joy to each other's lives, but it also allowed us to be triggered by each other in ways that we didn't even maybe know that we were feeling that way. Like it really brought insecurities to the surface.
But so motivating to have two people in my life that I loved so much and I was so determined to be best friends with, that at a certain point you're like, I got to get over this. Like, I just have to get over this so I can have these people in my life.
Yeah, same. You know what I'm realizing? I did talk about this a little bit on an episode of Self-Helpless, maybe like a year ago. We did an episode on jealousy. And I talked a little bit about like, this is, you know, one of my experiences with jealousy. And I did say like, I had to grow up. That was a lot of it too, was like getting rid of that mindset of there can only be one successful female comic. But unfortunately, like our business really does promote that idea a lot. It's very much like this person's a star and like has their time to explode. And they do it a lot with women, I think, way more than men.
Yeah. And I do think it's gotten better in the last 6 years overall.
I think so, too.
I think there's a lot of successful female comics and just more female comics in general. And I think the internet has helped with that for sure. And I also think, like, you just realize, like, Kelsey and I are very different. Like, I think if you like one of our comedy, you'll like the other person's, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I also think we're very different comedians.
Yeah, I agree.
So once you realize that,
we have a Venn diagram. We have like a place that like intersects for sure, but we also are like completely different people and performers. But yeah, it's so crazy to think back to 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And versus now. I'm so grateful that we've all gotten to the place that we are.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, me too. I was going to say the flip side of feeling like this is hard because I feel like I don't know what I'm doing and they do. And, you know, I'm just going to feel like less and less special probably the more that I fade out of this industry or whatever, is seeing you guys go after your dream job and actually be doing it made me think that I could do that too, because that was the only example in my life of people who were maybe doing something unconventional for work. And I remember, I don't know if it was Taylor, Kelsey, I don't know if it was both of you or one of you saying, because I had that ridiculous hobby at the time of Dicks by Delanie where I paint penises on coffee mugs. One of you said, why don't you just do Dicks by Delanie for work? And I'm like, that's insane. That's ridiculous. Nobody would do that, right? Or nobody would buy that. That's crazy. But then you were like, wait a minute, is it so crazy? Because two of the closest people in my life are actually making their dream jobs happen. And maybe it's not crazy to think that that could happen. And so that is, you guys were instrumental in me even taking that action step, because if you had not been in my life, I would have only been surrounded by examples of that's ridiculous, you know? And then I launched it and I was able to leave a job I hated to do that. And of course it like weaved into something else. But that's like that is the power of being around people who challenge you in certain ways and challenge things in yourself and challenge insecurities in yourself. Is like you rise to the occasion, I think, of a whole new level of yourself. And yeah.
I'm so glad that we, like, even though those feelings sucked, I'm so glad that we had them, because at least for me, it really pushed me to have to face that I didn't love myself and get to a way better place. Because it's like, well, this is a shitty way to live life.
Yeah. My favorite thing, and Kelsey and I have talked about this, is like when Kelsey used to post like a thirst trap, I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so ugly. I have to work harder. And now Kelsey will send me photos before she posts them. Like, which one should I post? And I'm like, post all of them. Fuck everybody. Post every single one. You're welcome, world.
And it's same where you send me clips and you're like, what do you think of this? And now I feel like it's like a treat to me that I get to like see the clips before they go out sometimes and be like, oh my God, it's so fucking funny. It's so fucking smart. Like I just get to enjoy it and be a fan and not compare. It's just so much better.
Yay, freaking men.
Amen. Yay, friendship.
Yay, friendship.
Is there anything else on either of your minds that is either really drastically different in how you feel or your situation, or even something that you're glad has stayed the same throughout these past 6 years? Anything like that?
I'm very glad we're still friends. I was very scared to leave the podcast. I thought that if I left the podcast, we would maybe not be close anymore. And I was so grateful that you both understood and were so nice about it, and that we all didn't lose touch. Like I was really nervous about it, but I was just stretched so thin, and I was scared of oversharing and just felt very overexposed. And the fact that we are all still close and that hasn't changed means a lot to me, and I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah,
Me too.
me too. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, I think we're even closer, because it's like,
Yeah.
we don't want you to be unhappy, right? That's not going to make for a good podcast or friendship.
Exactly. It'd be a fucked up version of Self-Helpless. We were forcing Taylor to burn out on the podcast.
Yeah, freak.
Like, do you have any questions for the guest, Taylor? I'm like, no, I'm okay though. Things are coming on.
I mean,
Yeah.
the whole point of this episode is like, we were in such a different place in life when we started the podcast. Like, none of us would know where we would be in 6 years and if that would still fit with our lives. So
Yeah. I was thinking about this episode, and I was like, wow, like some of the biggest constants in my life for 6 years has been all of our friendships, being with Cam, and this podcast. And then, of course, like my family and other friends, but so much has changed and dropped off and not been a fit for me anymore. But like all this it's still here. And I think that's really cool, because when you can meet people that you can grow with, and also projects or businesses you can grow with or whatever, that's like, it's such a beautiful thing.
yeah,
It's not the case for everything.
I have a question. This kind of goes back to relationship stuff, but how do you feel like you're different as a partner now versus then? Like, what's a big change that you feel like you are as a partner?
Oh my God, that's such a good question. I think I am more patient and more compassionate now as a partner. I really deeply try to take a beat and take a pause to try to understand the other person's perspective or where they're coming from, where I think I was a little bit more reaction based 6 years ago. I mean, I've talked about before, like I almost completely blew up my whole relationship with Cam in the beginning because I off of an assumption, because he had a friend visiting him that it was a girl, and I thought it was like, you know, a thing. And I had scheduled a bunch of dates and I was like, fuck this guy and all that stuff. And thank God I ended up seeing him before I could really blow shit up, because that wasn't the case at all. And see, I wouldn't do that again. Like, I wouldn't be that person anymore. If something was on my mind or upset me, I would just talk to him about it instead of doing some fucking weird dance of, yeah, bullshit. So yeah, I think that's the biggest one for me that I've noticed.
Yeah, I think I feel similarly. I was definitely that person too. You could argue I did do that. I did it. I followed through. But yeah, no, I used to be, I think I really didn't trust people, and I was very black and white in my thinking, and I was really self-protective and like just assumed the worst. And I think it has taken 6 years for me to get to a place where I think I give people the benefit of the doubt more so now. And like, I mean, very recently, like in the last year or so, I think, and it's still an active struggle for me to be vulnerable instead of defensive, and to tell people how I'm feeling and open up instead of just sort of deciding to leave or deciding I'm over this or this isn't what I want or whatever. And look, I'm single, so maybe it's not working, but no, I think I needed to be, I really needed this time. I really needed to be on my own for a little bit and feel how relaxing that feels and feel okay on my own and not be so afraid to be by myself. Because I think when you're afraid to be alone, it makes you a worse partner because you're coming from a place of desperation and fear. And now I feel like, okay, if I'm going to be with somebody, they have to really add to my life. I'm not going to force something to work. But also, I've watched you two. I've learned so much from you two in as far as being a partner. Like, the two of you have been great examples to me of two people who are clear about what they want and need, but have also been very compassionate and patient and forgiving with people they've dated in a way that I had never seen an example of and was not naturally good at. And the older you get, you realize things are not black and white and things are very complicated, and you do have to work through things if you want to make something work with somebody, and it's never going to just be perfect and easy. Like, that's such a, right. I think that's such a false narrative that we all sort of buy into, is like, when you meet the one, everything's easy. Like, I just don't think that's true. And when I was younger, I was like, it's supposed to be easy. Like, and I played a lot of games. I think I used to, and look, it doesn't not work, but but I was very much like, everyone I dated, I started maybe being like, oh, you just don't really like me. And they're like making them like, work for it more so, which is so young. So I've learned a lot from the two of you. And I feel proud of who I am as a partner now. And that is, again, pretty recent.
It's so great. We're so proud of you too.
It is. Yeah. I'm glad you're holding out for somebody that's going to add value to your life. Like, not everybody does that. A lot of people do act out of like desperation and the fact that like you're good on your own. You have your dream career, you're doing your thing, and, you know, that's going to be a special person that fits that slot.
Yeah, and as Kelsey said, being alone can be really uncomfortable if it's not what you want to do. And watching Kelsey, you know, sort of post-divorce, work through all of that on her own during a pandemic, no less, has been very inspiring to me personally, and was really, like, is something I think about a lot and go back to a lot when I'm feeling like, why don't I just, like, I could just set up a bunch of dates and just be that person and find a relationship again. Like, I know how to do this. And I think about her a lot, and it's been very, very helpful for me as an example.
Okay, that's very nice. Yeah. And hey, if you want to set up a bunch of dates, I know a place that and really convenient to do so.
Look, and Delanie really helped me on those times when I was like, I'm going to set up a bunch of dates.
Delanie's got a few coffee beans that she is tight with the managers.
You bring 3 changes of clothes.
That's right. Keep them in your car. A sweater, hair tie. I mean, that's all you really need. Different shade of lipstick.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's a good time.
Taylor, when you're talking about that you are just more aware of that if somebody's going to be in your life, they have to add value to it and not take away from where you're already at. So I had made a list a while back of, like, my partner is, and I just listed all of the things that were super important to me, like just non-negotiables, things that would be wonderful. And I mean, I feel like Chad is that whole list, and then added things that I wouldn't have even thought to put on there. So I've talked to Tay about, like, try that. Also try, like, making a list of the things that you feel like you bring. And can we share the
Oh, I tried that on stage last week. Did I tell you that?
Did it work?
I can't remember if it worked.
Can you just
I think
tell
it might
the
have
podcast
worked.
what you told me? Because it's one of the funniest things I've heard.
It's so sad. So Kelsey told me a few months ago, she goes, have you made a list of all the things you like about yourself? And I was like, what? And she's like, something that really helped me is I made a list of all the things I liked about myself, all the things I loved about myself, all my best qualities. And I think you should do it. Like, just really, like, do it today, and I'll check in later and you can tell me. And so she texted me later and she goes, did you write your list? And I was like, yeah, but I only got like 3 deep before I ran out of stuff. And she's like, really? I'm like, yeah, I wrote funny, driven, and fast reader.
Oh my
and
God.
and meant it.
Oh my God, it's so funny. Oh God. Yeah.
It's a good skill to have.
Yeah, I'm not great at writing down my strengths. That has been a hard thing that's changed in the last 6 years, in that getting really healthy, I lost, like, the hypomania, like the parts of my mental illness that made me really love myself at times. I lost that. And so those were the times I would make those lists, you know, and now I'm just sort of even keel and, like, you know, I'm good. I'm fine. Like, it's just,
Oh, we can add so much to that
Yeah.
list for you.
You know,
like,
that's very nice.
Generous and beautiful and thoughtful. Yeah. Go on and on. So maybe ask the people that you love also to add to that list. Maybe that'll help you.
Yeah,
See,
put it
because
on
you know
everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had suggested you do that because I just think sometimes when people are making a list of things that they want in a partner, it can feel lofty to them. And, like, they might have a little imposter syndrome of, like, who am I to think I can meet this person, like, that this person exists. And I think if you take the time to actually write out what you bring to a relationship, it doesn't seem so crazy. I think if you're in a good place and you're like, I'm ready for this, then it feels like this makes sense.
So you
I
did
also
both
say-
of those lists.
I did both of those lists at the same time.
Yeah.
And I would reread them, like, maybe every couple weeks, and just kind of, like, keep it at the front of my mind. And I will say I take way better care of my relationship now than I ever have in younger years. I feel like in younger years, it was just like, we're going off-roading. Like, it was just like banging. You could just, like, bang a relationship around without putting in that care of, like, okay, what is an effective way to communicate in a fight, rather than just, like, having a fight when maybe neither of you have slept well or you're both drunk or something. Like I just wasn't as delicate with a relationship. And now I treat Ida Chad's relationship like it is this, what are they called? Fabergé eggs or something like that. Just like I just like want it to be really well taken care of. So I don't know. I might have overcorrected in ways. Like if we've got something to talk about, I really go through the checklist of like, are we both in a good headspace for this? We just had a recent one where it's like, we don't have big conversations when we're driving. Like if we're in the car together, cars are really, they're such like a contained space. You can like ramp up energy quickly. And I learned that from a friend who that's like a rule in their relationship. It's like no like touchy topics in the car.
Wow.
Yeah.
The car's like where I would get into shit, I feel like. I'm like, there's no distractions.
Sounds dangerous.
Not like fight, but just like, let's really dig deep. That's really good.
Yeah. I mean, you can have like meaningful, deep conversations. It's just like if something's a hot button topic, we are like, we're not going to talk about it right now. And so, but these are things, that's what I'm saying is like, when I'm talking about like off-roading as an example, it's just this like visual representation of I had no boundaries in terms of when was a good time to have a tough conversation or argument or whatever. It's like, I just am way more mindful of that now.
Yeah. And what was okay to share on a podcast?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
for sure. For sure. We're
so different.
We're all so different with that now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say
anything. Everything. Oh my God. I said so much. And now I'm like, yeah, like even like caring for your relationships more, Kels. I would just say like, I think about every relationship now when I show up to the podcast of like, I'm going to be vague enough to protect some things, but specific enough that hopefully this thing I say helps somebody or directs them to a tool or something like that. But that fine line that you're like always walking, oh my God. Had no inhibitions back then. Jesus.
There are so many bits that I wrote that I'm so glad I had the wisdom not to record in a special, because there are some vault tracks that were not cool.
Oh my God.
Like I'm pretty proud of how we've managed to protect the relationships in our lives and realize that a joke or a podcast episode is not worth jeopardizing the people in our lives.
Yeah. And to be fair, when we started, it was like, we don't have any listeners when you start.
Right.
And we were
stakes
becoming friends as we were recording. So it was like, I don't know, it felt very low stakes to talk into a microphone and put it out into the world. And then it's a little different now.
Yeah, I just wanted to make you guys laugh. I really didn't care if anyone. I was like, yeah, we're just catching up.
Well, also, like, some of the things we shared, I hope, were, like, very, maybe valuable to our listeners who are going through something similar. Like, that's a big reason why people listen to podcasts or watch YouTube videos, is they want connection, they want to relate. And sometimes the things you want to relate the most about are, like, ugly things. Hard times, struggles. So it's like, it's tough. There are things that we could share that I'm sure would help get people through some things, but we just like can't be that vulnerable anymore.
Yeah. I feel like I'm okay sharing like the ugly parts of myself, but when it comes to a dynamic with somebody else, that's when I'm a lot more careful. I feel like it's just I'm more talking about my deep dark secrets now than anything else that I'm okay if everybody knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Weird.
6 years later, do you still feel really content with the choice to not have a podcast?
Yeah. I do. I mean, look, I do think sometimes that's not true. Sometimes I feel stupid for not having one because everybody has one now, and it feels like not posting clips. Like it feels like something I'm supposed to be doing. And the way I've made myself feel better about it is I go, there will be a season in your life that makes sense. But podcasting has also changed so much in 6 years. Like everybody has a podcast, and it is a whole production every week. I mean, I did one the other day. It was the first one I'd done in a while. And it was like they had a camera on all 4 of us. We were filming TikToks to promote it afterward. Like it's like a show. It's like a TV show every week. And I just don't have the bandwidth for it right now. And I am sure at a certain point I will, but I think I would really need to have a clear idea of what I wanted it to be about, because again, it is so easy to share too much in the moment. So I feel good about it for right now, and that may change, but yeah, for right now, I'm like, I think I feel better, and it has lessened my anxiety a lot.
That's huge.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah. Delani's off social media. You're off podcasting.
Yeah, that's the difference.
I am riddled with anxiety, but I haven't quit anything. I should quit something. No. But yeah, that's something I admire so much about you two, is that like you have been able to take stock of what is causing you stress or anxiety, or is just not in alignment with what you want anymore, and walk away from it. Like that's so hard to do. And you both have done a really good job of that.
That's very sweet. Oh, I admire you two for like just the fact that you are so visible in public, that you are able to work through all the anxieties and emotions and all that shit that brings, and keep going and like keep showing up. Like that is massive to me, because I'm so fearful of that it's cool to see you guys do it, and then do it successfully and do it well. And like, yeah, it's huge.
And I think it's healthy to fear it. I really do.
It's like both things, you know?
Yeah.
It's all the gray. Everything is gray. It's like every decision comes with multiple sides of the coin. It's like not just 2 sides. It's like so many things.
Yeah. Oh, I loved this. This was so fun.
This was really
You guys, I have a quotable. Oh my God, I have a quotable for this episode.
Oh, I forgot a quotable.
I don't know if you guys want to think of one, but it's the one where remember when you wanted what you currently have.
Yeah, that's such a good one.
Oh my gosh.
You know what one I was thinking about the other day that I love so much? I know we've shared it on here before. I think it's from A.A. Milne, but it's the people who matter don't mind, and the people who mind don't matter. I think that's such a good one with social media. Like,
yeah,
to just remember, like, you're not going to make every single person happy.
Yeah.
But like people who are, you know, whatever that other quote is, like determined to misunderstanding you, something like that. It's just like so good.
Yeah. Tay, you got a quote that's really
I could find one.
amped?
For some reason, I screenshotted this Margaret Atwood quote that says, and she finds it difficult to believe that a person would love her even when she isn't trying to figure out what other people need, trying to be worthy. Oh no, that resonated with me. Let's find something inspiring. Oh no.
That's okay.
That works too, though.
Oh no. Okay. This one says, I've polished this anger and now it's a knife. Ooh. Maybe I haven't grown very much.
It just ends there.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
That's the whole quote.
Oh my God. Oh wait, here's one. No, that's not good either. Wow. I know.
My favorite part of this episode is
a sad quotable, but
sad quotable corner.
This is really
bad. Plantation.
Yeah, no, these are things that I felt in my soul, but are not inspiring.
That's okay. It isn't.
Oh no.
It's just for people to connect with.
Yeah, that's right. That's good. I mean, I hope no one connects with that.
Spokane this weekend, guys. I am thinking by now that at least the early shows will have been sold out for a little while. So if there are still tickets, come to the late shows. Cleveland in a couple weeks. All those ones I listed, kelseycook.com.
Yeah, everything I said at the beginning of the episode, ttown.com/shows. I found a positive one. I found a positive quote.
Let's hear it.
It's just a picture of a sign, so I don't know who said it. Avoid the temptation to make choices that are familiar but no longer serve you.
Right.
We found it.
Beautiful.
We found it. Anyway, that sign
Fantastic.
is why I didn't text someone. So that's good.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a really good
It's an old one. That's good.
That is the power of quotes.
Sometimes you see the right quote and you go, yeah, don't make that choice.
Right. Jolts you awake. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, DelanieFisher.com for the Career Crush podcast. It's free. It's private. It's fucking weird. And come on over.
Yeah.
Love to have you. Come on.
Self-Helpless. 6 years.
Oh,
6 years.
congratulations, guys. I miss you.
Oh, we miss you too. We
you
really do. Please come on anytime you want to.
Literally anytime.
Yeah. I still want to do that Instagram episode with you if you want to.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Okay.
We gotta
We'll find a time soon to do that. It'll be fun. Okay, go. All right,
Everybody.
Have a great week. We love you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for listening to the Self-Helpless Podcast. You can find our Patreon community, merch, and our individual work at selfhelplesspodcast.com. We'd be thrilled if you shared this episode with a friend, or feel free to post it on Instagram and tag at Self-Helpless Podcast so we can repost you and say thank you.